All right, TwoSun Tuesday coming back at you. And what we have here is the TS191 Gulper. And I have two of them sitting here on the table. No, they aren't quite identical, but they do certainly look like it. We have the original one here, yeah. This one has a clamshell design. So, yeah, no backspacer or back barrels. They do have Chicago screws going on in there. But this does add just a little bit of weight, about 10 grams to it. This was the original one, so yep, we're going to go ahead and open that up. And this one is in S90V steel. This hasn't really been remade super recently, so I honestly can't confirm exactly how well the S90V on this actually ends up performing. Some of their older stuff has been middling to maybe S30V kind of levels of performance or so, something like that. And some of it's been okay. Some more recent ones have been much better, but like I said, they haven't produced this one in quite a while. What they have done, though, is produced this one. And this one, as we can see here, doesn't have that clamshell design. It just has a little bit of a backspacer in the back there, but mostly open. Like I said, that does save it basically 10 grams. And the blade steel on this is D2. Also, we can see that the original one, Mazwan Mokhtar, was a fan of. Yeah, you can kind of see his logo in TwoSun kind of engraved in the handle. The new ones don't do that. However, the TwoSun logo is just on the front, right, and a little bit smaller and less conspicuous, but still present. This one is in D2 steel, but other than that, um, yeah, they are basically the same knife. And, depending on how well or not the S90V in this one was actually treated, maybe about similar forms of edge retention. But I hope more. I just haven't really gotten around to doing an edge test on it, but I probably should at some point here. This is Mazwan Mokhtar design, as you could tell. And because of that, we have this ball clip thing on here. These things do a great job of yanking your pants around your ankles unless you are really prepared for it or have a nice tight belt going on. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. Now, the flipper tabs on these are fairly low profile, but because of that, they are just a little bit more difficult to use than some others. You have to give it just a little bit more oomph to be able to open them up because they're not sticking out straight that way. But still, they work pretty darn nice. We have jimping exactly where you would want it. Yeah. Dual gulpers. Oh, John Woo. Woohoo. Knives akimbo. Whatever. The thing is pretty comfortable. It's nice and slim. Let's see. How slim is it? Because I have the measurements here. 0.47 of an inch. That is just a couple millimeters thinner than a paramilitary 2 from Spyderco, so that's pretty good. 12.1 millimeters in case you are in a little bit more metrically inclined country here. 3.71-inch blade. These things are not small knives. As you can see, I have more than enough room on my fairly larger than standard hands going on with these things. We have nice lock bar access going on here. Really easy to disengage those. That's all sorts of good. We do have I'm pretty sure these are titanium pivot collars that they have here because that's what they've done with a lot of their other ones. I think a lot of other companies would use aluminum, but I haven't really seen TwoSun use aluminum like ever, as far as I can really think, unless they did some really old ones I'm not familiar with that did that. So I think these pivot collars are titanium. So you could anodize those a different color if you so wished. We do have their twill cut and flat carbon fiber stuff. It is real carbon fiber, of course, but you know, this kind of look, well, maybe not this one. This one's a little bit more erratic, but like this guy right here, a lot of lesser companies or companies that will make a knife a little bit cheaper will generally do a laminate of that on top of G10. These aren't, but yeah, it can kind of look that way for some people. So I suppose I'll throw that out there. Like I said, there is a 10-gram weight difference between those. You might think there's a little bit more, but that's what my scale says. Looks like I have 5.03 ounces, or 142.5 grams, for the D2 newer, more affordable model, and 5.38 ounces, or 152.5 grams, for the older clamshell S90V version here. Between the two, I'm always kind of a fan of this clamshell kind of construction, but I do understand, yes, it is more expensive. You have to start with thicker pieces and doing a lot more milling on these guys than you would have to do on these flat slab guys. So yeah, there's a lot more work and machine time that probably went into that one. And yeah, this was the first one that I got. And then I realized that they were different constructions, so, you know, I had to go out and get me one. This was definitely not a brand new one. I had to find it on the used market because, like I said, they haven't made them in a while. Something that's also pretty fantastic about these guys is the blade stock thickness on them. 3.3 millimeters as opposed to TwoSun's average 3.8. So they are a little bit more slicey. This still has just a little bit more of a robust grind overall because it is basically a saber grind kind of thing going on here with a very, very crazy swedge. And, well, I guess in the very, very strictest definition, no, I would say clip point, but, you know, that point is also trailing. So trailing clip point, since it does have just a little bit of arc on that on the spine. But yeah, very interesting shape, but still works out all right. And because of this more robust grind, I'm really glad that they went with a thinner blade stock on it. Really does help to keep that, still have a decently slicey personality, for lack of a better term, I suppose, off the top of my head there. So let's see. I did mention the blade length here, but only in inches, I think. So 3.71 from basically the tip to the butt of the handle, even though I suppose that would be back here. You understand what I'm saying? That's 94.2 millimeters, or 9.42 centimeters, whatever you want. I like to do millimeters just because it makes it easier for also measuring some other dimensions on it. So let's go ahead and, well, I only really need one of these open since they are basically identical proportions. Let's go ahead and get some blade size comparisons done here. There we are with the Spyderco Endura. Pretty darn close as far as that. You can see the handle's pretty close on the PM2, but the blade is quite a bit shorter. Well, not quite a bit shorter, but because of the extra belly here, it has a bit more cutting length going on for it. So there's that. This is, like I said, just a little tiny bit thinner than the standard paramilitary 2. So there's a couple of Spydercos. Why not? This is a super big knife, so I'll pull this out. That's the Manix 2XL, so you can definitely see this is a large, girthy knife. Well, not girthy, but definitely long. All right, here we go with the Ontario Rat number 1. This is probably a bit small, but sure, we'll go ahead and pull out the K-Bar Dozier as well. And, yeah, I didn't forget about Benchmade. Let's go ahead and pull a couple of those out. There we go. So there we are with the 940 and the bug out. Also known as what, the 530? 535? 535. 530 was a predecessor that actually had Mel Pardue as a part of the whole design process. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on trying to pick up a Griptilian. I do think Knife Center has a decent deal going on, maybe for another day or two on some of them. They're 20 CV blade steel, so a little bit of an upgrade for like $120, but still has those FRN scales. I'll have to think about if I want to replace those or not if I pull the trigger on it. But all right, so that's a lot of what I really wanted to talk about with these guys. The ergonomics on it, quite nice. It's fairly neutral, but nice and curved in there. Makes your fingers feel nice and at home, and kind of holds on to them just a little bit there. Jimping is just the way that I would particularly want that. And we have a nice curled area in the back in case you really want to get maximum penetration with putting your tries all up in that power of stabbing that through something there. The tip is it's not super incredibly thin, but because of that clip point and the swedge going on with that, it is just a little bit thinner, so a little bit better at piercing than it certainly would be if it had that full width spine going on for it. So overall, a pretty nice knife. Is that about the only thing that I would change? Is the flipper tab on them is just you have to get just a little bit used to them or acclimated to them, because they do require just a little bit more light switch power than you would probably suspect right out of the gate. And trying to do a push button on them generally doesn't work at all. Your mileage may vary. Maybe your particular specimen or sample is going to be a little bit better, but all right. Well, how about if we go ahead and take these guys apart? They're both basically going to look the same on the inside, so I'll just go ahead and take one of them apart. We'll go ahead and do the OG model. Of course, we got T8 hardware all the way around. There we go. Pocket clip. At least it's countersunk into carbon fiber surrounded by titanium and nice and wide, so that's not really going to end up damaging anything. Keep going with the T8. Let's get that pivot there. And this one's going to have a few more pins in the back side of it than the newer one is going to, so it's going to be just a little tiny bit more fiddly to open up, but there we are. And I forgot to mention that earlier, but hey, that's exactly why we go ahead and open these things up. We do have a blade stop pin there, but the blade rides around it fully. Kaiser has done that on a couple of their button locks. Old Cold Steel Recons with their Axis style locks also did that. Seems to work pretty well. And it's nice to have that fully encapsulated. Off the absolute top of my head, I can't really think of a huge advantage it might or might not have, but it certainly does make it a little bit easier and a little bit less messy looking on the backside when you have this clamshell construction going on here. And that's of course, the laser engraving that we have here. To my knowledge, these carbon fiber inserts are removable. They're not glued in. Yep, it's fully loose. So I'll just snap that back in place. I don't really need to yank that apart. Let's see. This is a little tiny bit strange. I suppose that's something that happens when you end up getting something used. I didn't really pay attention to that, but this particular bearing ring was flipped over The bearing erase side looks like it could use a little bit of cleaning up. It's just a little tiny bit rusty. So I will definitely do that. Interesting. I hope that will improve the action on it a little bit. That would be nice. But as you can see, yeah, they're solid pieces inside here. There's no inside milling, but of course they are contoured on the outside and do have the carbon fiber inlays. And yeah, taking a look on the inside here. Yeah, these guys are put together pretty much the same way as all the other newer TwoSuns. No weight relieving going on the inside on these either. And again, this was basically a knife made down to the cost of these originals here. So yeah, I suppose with me having to apparently clean out this bearing race and put this thing back together, I'll spare you the details and the time on doing that, and give that time back to you. So this was the TS191 Gulper. It's basically named after some sort of fish. I don't remember exactly what they look like, but I do remember my grandfather, who did a little bit of commercial fishing after he retired from auto mechanics stuff for the state of California. Yeah, he was familiar with them, so there we go. Alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe, please.